My name's JR Rivera, and I'm a father of two. My background is I grew up in a single parent home. I beat some odds and became a high school graduate, then earned a scholarship to play college football at Florida Atlantic University. And then I went on to chase the NFL dreams, end up playing arena football. I got into education, became an educator. I taught for the past 10 years in the classroom, Algebra 1 and geometry. I had my son. I was married for 8 years. I had my son in 2015. Then I had my daughter in 2017. And, just enjoying being a father and also a motivational speaker and an author.
Yeah, man, I've seen you got a lot of stuff going on. I definitely take the time to look into some of your background as an educator, like you said, motivational speaker and author, and dope dad, of course, man. You do a lot of things with your kids, man. I saw right now you're homeschooling them, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah,
How's that been going?
it's going amazing, man. I actually had an opportunity to kind of expose some of the ups and downs because, when you're an influencer, people kind of just see the highlights and they think that everything is perfect. So, me being an educator, I know that there are a lot of people that are at home and they're getting frustrated with the learning process with their kids because kids do have short attention spans and they do need breaks and they do need different approaches. So, yesterday I had the rare opportunity to kind of highlight where my daughter wasn't really feeling the lesson. She was learning her numbers and she got to 12 and 13 and 14 and she was getting it all scrambled up. I was doing recognition with her. She knows how to say them, but actually seeing them and understanding what they represent. So after like 4 or 5 minutes of doing that, she got frustrated, a little teary eyed. So I let her stop. But I don't believe in letting my kids quit. So taking a break is not the same thing as quitting, is what I wanted to reiterate to my daughter and also to those that follow me. So I let her take a break, changed her clothes, did her hair how she wanted. Then we came back to the same task and took a different approach. We did a little song with it. That didn't work. Then I counted to 10 and then I told her to count to 10 and then I told her to touch the numbers and say the next numbers and then she got it. And once she got it, she was still a little teary eyed because she got back emotional. But I was like, see, doesn't that feel good? And she got really happy and she got up from the table and came and gave me a hug. And it was like the greatest feeling ever because it's hard to push your kids, especially when it's a girl child. It does something to you as a man and you really don't want to be that stern on them, but you got to push them through that obstacle so that later on in life they know how to push through and take breaks but never quit. So it was a really cool opportunity. I'll probably end up posting it to my platform, but I had it on my story and a lot of people got a lot from it. So being able to expose the ups and the downs of this whole social distancing and quarantining, it's totally different. And I think a lot of people are realizing that it's not as easy to get your kids to learn.
100%, man. Like you said, you've been an educator for, you said, about 10 years now, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's been trial. Has it been like trial and error with your students, and now you're learning this trial and error with your kids as well in terms of the style that they learn in?
Oh, absolutely, man. I figured out that there's no one size shoe that will fit all, and also understanding that as the years have went by and the kids progress to different pop culture things, like you have to adapt with those kids because if you don't know the things that they like, there's no way they can learn from you. People don't learn from people they don't like.
Yeah.
So in order to have that likability factor, you have to step into some of the realms of the things that they like, from social media, which is why I got on social media
Oh,
to,
really?
yeah. So I hated social media, man. 2014, they got me to get on Instagram, and I said, you know what? I got a trick for y'all. I'm gonna post a motivational video every single morning. So I did that for 2.5 years straight, and
Wow. So that started for the students. That was the
yeah,
reason why you started it.
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, so it started for my students and then it trickled over to understanding that if I could reach one teacher, I could reach a whole classroom. So then I started going out the teachers. I started going in such a fashion that I started going to conferences and speaking to educators. And that really helped me reach my overall goal of reaching more students. And then from there, having my own kids after that time frame, then being able to just highlight being a parent along with, helping those students uh, get through the different struggles that they have in the morning time or just with different lessons, and understand that you don't have to have it all figured out, but you just have to try and understand what's your learning style. Some people are kinesthetic learners where they got to move around, they got to walk around and learn things. Some people
Mhm.
are visual learners, they got to see it. Some are auditorial where they got to hear it. So, showing them that there's nothing wrong with them. They just have to find out what they need to do to learn those things, and just be an extra voice of reason to them.
Okay, man. So now, that's actually one of my questions. I wanted to know how you got into it. So that's crazy that your students got you into it. You didn't even like social media, and now here you are, like what, 70,000 plus followers later, motivational speaker. You've done a lot with your motivational speaking as well. It's not just for the gram. Like you've been to conferences. You've been. I saw you spoke with ET, the preacher. You've done a lot with that. How did all that come about?
As I always tell people, first of all, understanding that Malcolm Gladwell rule that you need 10,000 hours to be a professional at anything, and then knowing that you could invest in yourself and get some of those hours. So it's funny about the ET thing. I actually, someone compared me to him, one of my students, way back in like 2012 when he first started, really surfacing on, YouTube and those type of things. And I saw his most famous speech, "When you want it as bad as you could breathe."
Hmm.
And I watched it, and we were getting ready for a game. I was coaching high school football at the time. And I told them the speech, but in my own, tone and storyline, but it was his speech. But they were like, man, the way that you said that, like, and we won the game and things like that. I didn't think anything of it. Fast forward a couple of years later, and I was playing arena football while I was teaching, and that was the team that I was playing for. I tried out for the Dolphins after that, did some other stuff, and I was like, God, if football isn't for me, just show me what I'm supposed to be doing. And my best friend played in the NFL for 11 years, and he was like, man, you got something that nobody else got. The way that you could tell a story. I'm like, what am I going to be, Mr. Rogers or something? I didn't even know. I didn't even know motivational speakers got paid.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I need to make a living. And he was like, no, man, they bringing these speakers, to speak to us in the NFL, and they pay them, substantial amount of money. I'm like, okay. So I said, the person who I've been compared to and who I like the most is Eric Thomas, Dr. Eric Thomas now. So I found out he was having his first big conference, and it was in Arizona. It was 2014, and I fly out there on my own dime, and I pay for the VIP session, which was like $1,000, and I didn't even have the money at the time. My ex-wife, she believed in me so much, she paid half. And I went out there, and I'm like, boy, I can't fail. She done put half on me, like,
Right.
I got to make this happen. So immediately when I walked in the door, when they say your energy, like, I didn't really know about energy like that back then, but when I walked in the door, I tried to sneak in because my plane landed late. I was like 5 minutes late, and ET was the only one that turned around. He turned around and came up to me and hugged me, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, everybody thought that I worked for him, like that.
Hmm.
I already knew him, but it was my first time meeting him. He said my energy and my presence was so strong when I walked in the door that it made him turn around. So lo
Wow.
and behold, I ended up going up there, and I had practiced this. I knew that they were going to ask, like, what do you do? Why are you doing this? Like, what do you want to ask ET type thing? So there was 12 of us in there, this VIP, and it just so happened it was my turn next. I almost missed my turn,
Hmm.
but with God's timing, you always on time. So
Right.
I go up there, I answer the questions, and when I told him that I posted a motivational video every single day without missing a day for 2 years straight, he was blown away. And he started following me on social media right then and there on the spot. We broke for lunch. He gave me his phone number. We've been connected ever since. And I reach out to him here and there and just trying to learn, but I still go to conferences and try to learn. But the biggest thing was that I was always speaking. I was speaking to my team growing up. The coach would tell me, go talk to the team like before games. And I didn't know why, but I had this gift. And like I would do it in the classroom to my students. And then when I was coaching, I was doing it. I would go back to my church, and I thought I was just going back and just talking to, the younger kids and just trying to tell them how to do it. Didn't know that I had this gift. And then I started going to the prisons because my father went to prison when I was 4 years old for
Oh
17
wow.
years. So that's a real strong area for me, is trying to help people right their wrongs. So
Hmm.
I started going into the prisons and speaking to those like boot camps where those kids are right on the cusp of having another chance. And it was such a great opportunity for me to go in there and speak to those kids that, 16, 17 years old, that they're facing 30 years if they don't get themselves together. And they got this 6-month program to turn it around. So doing that, going to juvenile correctional facilities, and then just speaking of football teams primarily is how I started off. And it just started to grow, started to read books, started to pour myself into it and getting those reps, man. Just like anything, if you want to be strong, you got to get the reps.
Right. So man, you're talking to all these different people in all these different situations, settings, locations. Everybody's going through something different. How do you tailor your message to reach all these different people?
I do my very best to capture what my spirit is trying to tell me, and at the same time be conscious of what's going on. So when I know that I'm gonna speak on the gram now, but like every morning I'll say something positive on my story, but when I'm actually gonna post now, I try to meditate on that a little bit, that thought that came to me, and then I'll try and see, going throughout the day, is that what really resonates? And then I'll look around at other messages that are going on, as far as, right now we're on quarantine. Everybody feels like they're locked up, but they're actually safe, and just being able to shift that perspective, and bring peace. When people can have a different perspective, they can have peace in the midst of a storm. So I would say that's my main approach, is trying to bring peace in the midst of storms.
Okay. So you first started off just on IG. You was in your car recording these motivational videos for your students. How has your message changed from then to what you're doing now?
Um, I would say just knowing that I have a little bit more in me now, so to speak. When you drive, you learn how to drive maybe in your mom's car or something, and it might have been a station wagon, but one day, you finally get that really nice ride, and there's a little bit more in there, and you want to go a little bit faster, and you want to reach different destinations because you're not afraid of the roads. So for me, now I'm not afraid of those different topics where, being a father, showing what it looks like to be a dad. I didn't have that when I first started speaking. My kids were my classroom kids.
Hmm.
And now understanding that if I sow those seeds as being a father, one day my students will become fathers, and they once had a father. So it's real and relatable, but it still reaches the right audience. I would say that my target audience has shifted and changed um, dramatically as I've grown, but still understanding that it's going to trickle down to those kids has always been my number one goal. And just the exposure of being able to see different things, read more books, and live life, experience life.
Okay, I hear you, man. And I see your shirt. It says "Purpose over popularity." Is that right?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Okay. So it's
that's
clear to me that
motto.
your purpose is something that's huge to you. Finding your purpose in what you're doing now. And I think you said after you had left football, or after your career had ended in football, you felt like you had lost your purpose. I think I read that somewhere.
Right.
How was it that you felt so comfortable doing what you're doing now? I know you said you've spoken your entire life, but now you're doing it in front of a camera. You're doing it in front of people. How did you find this to be your purpose?
When I took a moment, I think I was watching Bishop T.D. Jakes one day, and he was actually talking about purpose, and he's one of those deep guys that's gonna really get it up out of you. And he was basically challenging you to go back and kind of retrace your life. And when I retraced my life steps and realized that ever since when I was 4 years old and my father went to prison for 17 years, I had to re-articulate myself in such a fashion to help my dad to know what was going on around me, how I felt emotionally, and what I was trying to accomplish from an early age. So my gift was being stirred at such an early age of being able to speak and being able to articulate myself. And from there, I just needed to nurture the gift. So once I understood what the gift was, I began to nurture that gift. A lot of people always thought that I would be a lawyer or a preacher. Early on, I did very well in school. I was a 4.0 student in high school, even though I played ball. and a lot of people thought I would be a lawyer. Then, my spiritual walk, a lot of people thought that I would be a pastor because of that gift. But once my best friend uh, told me about, the opportunity to speak, but to still be myself and to still be who God called me to be. I thought that was really cool, and it was dynamic and different. And I still go into churches. I speak in churches still, and just to know that I can reach different people in different parts of their lives by doing it this way. So I would say that that really is what guided me, was being able to hear certain people talk about purpose and understand what purpose really was, and then to find mine and then nurture that.
Okay. And right now you got two young ones. By the way, what's your kids' names?
So I have Kyrie, he's my son, and he's 4 years old. And then my daughter is Azariah, and she just turned 3 years old.
Okay. Beautiful names, man. So Kyrie and Azariah. So now you're a father. Now you find yourself in this different place. You're a father. You're not just talking to people and then, you're not seeing them the next day. Now these are your kids. You're instilling these things in them that is you're gonna see it play out year after year as they grow. I saw that you are teaching your children affirmations, positive affirmations to say themselves, to get themselves through the day. Hopefully that's something that they continue to do throughout their lives. This is something I do with my daughter as well. Now, what do you what do you want from your children, seeing you as a motivational speaker, teaching them affirmations? What do you see that doing for them?
I see it as giving them a firm foundation that even if they fall back, they know how to get up. Uh, Not looking for the world to, affirm them, but being self-affirmed and understanding who they are, so that when things come to challenge them, that they still have that calling on them and that they still have that ground to stand on. Because a lot of kids that I've come in contact with as being an educator is they have identity crisis. They're not really confident in themselves. Even the best athletes in the school, even the prettiest girls in the school, they're really shook as a person deep down inside. So doing my best to build up that inner person and to allow them to speak to, who they really are, and hear themselves saying, how great God is, for what he's done inside of them. I believe that later on in life, when everything is said and done and the dust settles, that they'll be still standing because they have something firm to stand on.
I feel like having that strong foundation as well is going to help them find their purpose earlier in life because they're already speaking to themselves in a way that's encouraging. They don't have that negative. Everybody has a little bit of negative self-talk, but they have your voice in their head. They have you as their subconscious. Like, nah, remember when we were 3? Remember when we were 4? We were saying these affirmations. And they're going to have that in their mind at all times.
I think that's beautifully said. I always told myself that I would love for my kids to hear my voice when they're trying to make hard decisions. So becoming their subconscious, so to speak, my voice in a positive manner, being able to shake them from things that may have knocked the normal person down, and definitely being able to help guide them towards their purpose. Later on in life, I really hope that is my voice that they hear.
Yeah, man. And you said that you were raised in a single mother, single parent household. Did that help you find some drive to make something of yourself? I know you said your pops was in prison as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. A lot of people, they look at their circumstances and they want to play victim, but for me, I was trying to find the victory. I always was a competitor in everything that I did. So just because I had less cards to play the game, I was gonna make all the right moves. So for me, growing up, I always told myself I couldn't be out trying to have sex with the girls and doing all the crazy things. Like, I put it on myself, to be a straight A student. My mom never pressured me. She would have been all right if I got all C's in school. Like, she really would have been okay because my mom barely graduated high school. My father went to prison for 17 years, like I said. And for me to be able to just, go through school and graduate, my older sister, she didn't finish school. She had a child when she was in 11th grade. She ended up getting her GED. So I was the first one to graduate high school, let alone, graduate with over 4.0, and then go on to get a college scholarship and play Division I football. So for me, I felt like it was on me to break those generational curses. And, I know that being first is hard, you know,
Hmm.
But for me, hard wasn't going to stop me from changing the dynamics of my family.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. And it's funny that you say that because I saw early in your career, in your motivational speaking career, I should say, you worked with somebody on a financial literacy book for kids. And I'm sure that the reason, a part of the reason why you did that is because that's something that you didn't have as a kid, and you want to make sure that kids are aware of these things.
Absolutely. That would be my best friend. Same guy, man. He's always been a great pillar in my life. Philip Buchanan played in the NFL for 11 years, and I was actually staying with him for a little bit because we were in between moving towns. We moved from my hometown to Miami when we were married, me and my kid's mother. And in that time, he was trying to write a book, and it came so easy and natural to me to come up with the lines and all that stuff for the book. And he was like, man, like, this is so easy. So once he showed me that I could literally write a book, from that point, he was like, you need to write your own book. So I was a co-author with him, helping him write those financial literacy books, and understanding that it's so important for kids to get that early on and have that money knowledge, because a lot of kids get to high school and they have no clue. They get their first job and they're just reckless with money. It comes and it goes, and then they have to go to college and they have to take out these loans and all those different things. So just having a relationship with money early on is super important for kids. I need to finish the one that I'm writing right now that pretty much stars my son and my daughter. I'm really in the mix of doing that, and those type of early on opportunities to help write the book helped me to write my own book, which is a time management book called "What's Eating Up Your Time: The Full 24," and that's on time management because that was another area that over those 10 years I didn't realize that young kids especially struggle so much with time management. I'm like, you can't like play ball and do your homework and just they're like, nah, I don't have enough time. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're the bum under the bridge or you're a billionaire, you only get 24 hours. Like everybody get the same amount.
Right.
So when I broke it down to them, I was playing professional indoor football, arena football. I was teaching, I was coaching, and I was just married, and I was taking graduate level courses. And I sent like 5 kids to Division I school during that
Wow.
time. I got straight A's in my graduate courses, and I ended up being one of the top players in my league, and we won a championship. So for me, I just thought that's how you do it. Like you take a little nap, go get it. So for me, being able to break that sign down to my students year after year, I'm like, man, I just need to write a book because I'm tired of saying the same thing.
Right.
So I made it interactive and I walked them through the process of how to break down a day. So for me, I told them, I'm like, someone tells you to do homework. That doesn't mean wait until you get home to do it. It means find time to get that done before you come back to class. So for me, I would do my homework on the bus or in my classes before I, made it home, because when I got home, I needed to work out again. Like I was a Division I athlete. Like you don't become a Division I athlete just going to practice and playing ball like everybody else. You got to go home and get that extra work in. So for me, I didn't have time to come home and do homework. I was on the same boat, but I had a bus ride that was 45 minutes, and I would get my homework done on the bus. When I got home, it was time to go get it in.
Man. So that's crazy. When I was looking at, your book, when your book says a line about kidnapping time or stealing time, and I see you put that into practice before you had even written the book. You over here stealing time from homework and doing it on your bus ride home. Instead of 45 minutes, most people probably got their headphones in. Maybe, they got a Game Boy or something on the way home, whatever. You over here doing your homework, and your friends probably looking at you like, man, what you doing, man? Like, why are you doing homework? And in the back of your mind, you already know, like you have plans for your life. You working these things out.
Yeah, and it was actually kind of cool because a couple of my teammates that rode the bus home with me, they kind of adapted that same thing. So it might have saved some other people's grades along the way, seeing me grind the way that I was. And for me, it was just a no brainer because I have a chapter in my book that's called Dead Time. And I always looked at it as like, yo, why would I let this time be dead? Like all I'm gonna do is tell jokes and play around. Like a lot of people see my serious side, but I was the jokester. But I just got all of my stuff done before it was fun time, and people respected me for that because, I would tell them like, look, man, I'm gonna joke around, I'm gonna play with y'all, everything gonna be cool, but first I got to get this done. like I had priorities, and your purpose is what pulls out your priorities. And a lot of people say, oh, I procrastinate or whatever. It's because they don't have their purpose and their priorities set up to where they pulling each other, and then you don't got time for procrastination.
100%, man. I hear that. Um, so you wrote your first book. You say you got another book on the way. Is it a children's book?
Yeah, the children's
Okay.
book. I gotta finish that one, man. Once you get a book out of you, then you start seeing ways to make money off of the book and doing other things. And that's one that is really primarily for my kids, but I know a lot of other people will benefit from it.
Mm.
But I really want to see themselves in a book. So I'll give you a small snippet of it. It's
Yeah.
basically showing how many pennies it takes to make a dollar. So the main character is my daughter, and this penny. Well, my son is the main character. I would say my son is the main character, and the dollar. Her name is Dolly, and then my daughter shows up in there a couple times. So Dolly is introducing my son to all of the different coins, like a penny. There's 100 pennies, but I did it in a strategic way. The penny is going to do 100 push-ups. So 100 push-ups is equaling that dollar. So
Hmm.
then meets the nickel. The nickel is five of them playing basketball. So showing them the different dynamics of it, and then they got to score a certain amount of points, showing how many nickels it's going to take to actually equal a dollar. Then they're playing baseball with the dimes, showing that they need 10 of them to make a dollar, and so on and so forth. And then the quarter shows that you need four of them. So I got them playing football. The quarterback is throwing the ball, so I try to
Yeah.
play that of it. And the ending is what was the coolest, because it took me a while and it came up to me. I wanted Dolly to talk to my son and tell him. My son was like, "Oh, that's cool. I've met all of these people. Now I know how many coins it takes to get a dollar, whether I have pennies, nickels, dimes, or a quarter." And she says, "Wait till you meet the rest of my family." And my son's like, "Who's the rest of your family?" And he's like, and she says, a million. So
Hmm.
telling, the next time we're gonna talk about $1 million. We
Right.
learned the dollar. So just putting that little thing out there in their head early on, and letting them know that things are possible, because I'm a firm believer that your subconscious starts to get programmed when you're such a young child,
Hmm.
and that determines the way that you look at life and the way that you attack life.
100%. And seeing is believing, man. Like they see you hustling, so no matter what, they be like, "Oh, my daddy hustled, right? Like I can get it. I can hustle and go get it." So seeing is believing, especially for kids, man. It's huge.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that already with my kids. Like uh recently I've probably done like 12 to 15 sponsored ads, and I involve my kids in just about
Hmm.
all. And my daughter, she's just like taking it all the way on. And I tell her like, "Hey, we're gonna make some money today. We're gonna do this," and we talk about money. And my daughter say, "Okay, we're gonna get a big house because you making a lot of money." And she's only 3,
Yeah.
but she understands that in order to get money, I need to do something, and I
Hmm.
need to do it well. And if we do it enough times, then I can get what I want out of it. So just having that small conversation, and them seeing me sending out emails, making videos, doing different things, and they like to look at my Instagram. So that's another reason why I do post often, and I do make the stories and all of those different things, because my kids will sit there with my phone and not be on YouTube. They'll be on my Instagram just looking at, "Oh, I
Wow.
want to see baby. I want to see when I hit the baseball or when I did this." So it's just been really, really cool to create that so-called vision board. I tell people a lot of times your Instagram is your vision board. You spend too much time on there for it not to be something that's going to inspire you to accomplish something great.
Hmm. I hear that, man. I hear that. And you're talking about some of the ads that you're doing, right? And it makes me think about the fact that you are not scared. Like a lot of dads out there are actually scared to do their daughter's hair, right? They're like, "Oh, I don't want to mess it up. I can't do that." You jump right in there, like you don't care. It don't matter what's going on. You jump right in there. So I've seen that you posted a lot more lately about you doing your daughter's hair. Talk about that, man. Talk about how you just comfortable in that role.
Oh man, I was one of those dads at first. I'm like, man, I don't want to mess it up. I'm gonna do it too hard. But unfortunately, Me and my kid's mother, we saw that we needed to take a break from things and at least give the opportunity for our kids to be raised in a two separate households. So we end up getting a divorce and trying to do things differently. She's still very involved. My kid's mom, she does a great job, and we still communicate. We co-parent to the fullest. But there's often times where I'm having my daughter and I got to do her hair. It's
Hmm.
either hell or high water. You got to make it happen. I'm looking at baby girl and I'm looking at those brushes early on, and I'm like, I don't even know which one to use. I don't know what.
Right.
But when there's a will, there's a way, and you start to learn. And it's the same way as I played football. Like practice. Sometimes I had to do her hair over 3 or 4 times, and it probably wasn't feeling good to her, and she didn't enjoy it at all. But now it's actually a bonding time for us. We talk about affirmations. She'll sing to me, like just cool moments happening, man, that you can't experience doing anything else. So I really take heed to the opportunity, and I know that one day I won't be the person doing her hair. She'll do her own hair and she'll go to the beauty salon. I'll be paying for her to get her hair done. But
Hmm.
for now, having that opportunity, so I don't want dads to miss out on it, like you said, because of fear or just not being comfortable doing it. I want them to see how cool it is and then understand that it's an opportunity to bond and build with their daughters. And just being able to be on things like Good Morning America and different platforms and being able to actually expose what it looks like to one be a father, but also to be a black male father, and step into that role that most people think that we don't care to be in those roles. So
Hmm.
just changing that narrative.
Yeah, man, you definitely doing that, with your daughter, and I've seen, with your son as well. You got him playing baseball. I think you got him in a couple other sports, maybe karate, some other stuff like that, man. So you definitely doing the dad thing, man. It's good to see. I started this page because for that exact same reason, what you said. For whatever reason, people will think that black fathers don't want to be there or they're not around. Nah, that's not the case. We all over the place. So I appreciate and salute what you've been doing for your kids, man, and all the things that you've been doing otherwise as well. Not only for your kids, but for the kids in the community, right? Like teaching for 10 years. You sending these kids to college, you sending these kids on to bigger and better things. So you helping out the community as a whole. That's huge. So salute to you, brother.
Oh man, I super appreciate it, and I'm so glad that I got to check out your page and come across it and just see all of those other fathers out there doing great things. It's encouraging because whether we admit it or not, we always feel like we're the only ones trying to fight this battle, and trying to fight this stigma. But to see other fathers putting in that grind and putting in that work and doing it the right way, it's so encouraging. And your platform is so necessary and so needed, man. I'm glad that you took that call to action and actually built that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. But before we get you on out of here, man, you are a motivational speaker. I'm sure you got some words of wisdom that you can impart on the listeners, man. So what do you got for us?
Oh man, there's an African proverb that I live by. It says, "If you understand the beginning well, the end will not trouble you." So that's one that I always try to lean on, is try to get that early understanding so that in the end, I won't have all that trouble.
Okay, man. I like that. I like that one. I like that a lot. All right, man. But before we get out of here, please let the people know how they can connect with you, what your social media handles are, and what you got going on next.
All right, so I'm JR Rivera once again, and it's been a pleasure. Where you can find me is any social media underscore JR Rivera, RIV as in Victor, ERA, and that's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and even Twitter. So I'm on all of those platforms. What I have coming up next is I have a huge virtual conference for Teach Your Heart Out. It's going to be announced on Monday, and they're going to start selling out tickets. Is for educators. And then I also have a social media 10X where I'm teaching people how to build their platforms and how to get sponsored paid ads, because I realized that during this coronavirus, people need another stream of revenue or at least a great side hustle. And I've been able to find that actual sweet spot. So finding that sweet spot of being able to do these sponsored ads has been cool. So I want to help other people. So I have that social media 10X.
Oh man, that's amazing. So you over here teaching people how to get it on social media as well.
Absolutely, man. Extend the table.
That's huge, man. That's huge. All right, brother. Before last thing, I always ask all my guests is What advice do you have for brand new fathers?
Oh man, brand new fathers. Rule number one: make sure you listen and watch your kids' behavior, because a lot of things that you think are not being seen, heard, or understood, they're actually soaking those things up. My son started doing a one-hand push-up yesterday, and I was amazed.
Wow. Wow.
But he's been
4 years old, right?
yeah, and he's been
Jeez.
seeing me do push-ups since he was an infant. When my son was born, the doctor almost stepped on me coming in the door early one morning when my son was first born, because I used to do 500 push-ups every single morning. And it wasn't to be strong or physically attractive or whatever you want to say. It was a mental thing for me. I was aligning myself with my mental game. Push-ups hurt, and when you're doing 500, not in one set, but different sets, it starts to set in and you want to quit. You get to 200, you're like, man, I'm good. You get to like 300, you're like, ain't nobody else doing this. You get to 400, you're like, all right, that's enough. But you just keep pushing, and no matter what life throws at me, I know that I could push myself back up that day. So I want my kids to get that same type of understanding, and the only way that they can get that is by seeing it. So those first time fathers, man, whatever you're doing or saying, that's what your kids are gonna do. I don't care how much you chastise them or you want them to be better than you. People always say, "Oh, I want my kids to be better than me." Well, you got to be a better you. When you
Right.
become a father, you got to raise that bar up, buddy, and you got to really, really become a better man, because that is what's going to raise your kids. It's not what you write down on paper or what you tell everybody. It's who you become as you're being a father. That's what your kids are going to become.